Hey everyone, and as promised, I'm going to go over, I've got all the tools, I think it's all the tools that I used during this build, and I'll talk about them briefly. This is not going to be a long video, I promise, but I'm basically going to go over the tools that I used and whether or not they were necessary. I have a ton of tools because this is what I do, right? This is my hobby slash money maker in retirement. So when I find good deals on tools that I don't have, I buy them. So I guess we'll start and go left to right. So, I didn't bring all of my clamps out, but you can see them in my videos. Pipe clamps, bar clamps, those aluminum clamps, those were wonderful. My favorites, though, were pipe clamps. Pipe clamps. Sawhorses, I didn't bring those in, obviously, but you'll need a set of sawhorses. Or some kind of work surface. I would suggest just getting or building yourself a set of sawhorses. But clamps. And I think I used the crap out of these little Irwin quick clamps. About all Irwin's good for these days. That's a shame too, because they were such a great tool company back in the day. Which would bring me to, and these, yes, necessary. Like everybody says, and is quite obviously alluded to, you can never have enough clamps, and if you don't know that now, you soon will. So get a lot of clamps that are going to be long enough to clamp your laminations together, whether your aprons or your tops, or your wellboard, but also have some long enough that are going to hold your leg frames together. And I don't know, I would guess my longest clamp that I used, the longest clamp that I needed to use was a 5-footer. A set of 5-footers. If I didn't have those, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did here. And that was for, I want to say that was for stretching or racking the bench the way that I wanted to. But yeah, so 5-footer is what I used. And I think I have like maybe 16 clamps, pipe clamps and bar clamps between all of them. I probably have more than that, but I think that's about all I used, 16 or so. Not that you need that many, but you need enough to do the job. The bits, I kind of went over those. If you're doing this all by hand, right, auger bits. You need a set of good auger bits. Those are essential if, you got to drill holes. So, now I got away, I used a paddle bit to counter bore for my bolts that I put through the aprons. If I had to do it all over again, I would buy a whatever size you're going to need to counter bore to. In my case, it was 1.5 inches, so I would have bought, which I don't have, but will, an 1.5 inch auger bit. I hate paddle bits, or spade bits they're called too, but I hate them. And obviously in conjunction with that, you got to have something to turn it with. I really don't need to show it, but brace and bit. Mine's Miller's Falls. I'm sure I know there are tons of makers out there. That's what I have. Not my favorite in the world. I will probably end up I have 2 Miller's Falls. One's piece of crap that came with, I think they came with my set of Russell Jennings. I'll probably just sell that because I don't ever use it. I hate it. But my other Miller's Falls, my heavy duty one it's a ratcheting, but I didn't need the ratchet, so definitely necessary bits. I used a shoulder plane on my tenons and a lot of my joinery that I made. Do you need it? No, you don't need it. You can do all your joinery without a shoulder plane. It's just nice to have. You can do it with your chisel. All your tools, as you use them, need to be lubricated. I use a little vegetable can with some t-shirt rolled up inside, and it gets loaded every day with some 3-in-1. This is a new one, so I have to load it every day. But once it's loaded, I'll never have to. I won't have to put any more oil back in very often. Obviously, you need a good crosscut saw, a full-size saw, push or pull, Japanese, American, I don't care what it is, something that'll cut through a slab of lumber that's at least 5 inches wide, and well, however wide you make your tops, but you need something that will cut through it. Necessary or not? Yes, obviously it's necessary. I have a cross-cut and rip-cut tenon saws. I actually also used, if you remember, a small panel saw, which is just like this, but a shorter version, and it's skinnier. I used that to be able to get into the kerf as I was cutting my tenons out. Because these, as you know, I'm going through 6-inch legs, or 5.5-inch legs, and this is not 5.5 inches. It will not go down 5.5 inches, so I had to use the other saw to finish that off. Not necessary. You can chisel out the cheeks of your tenons. So, also, if you don't use this, a lot of people use candle wax. I have some too, but I prefer to use this for most of my stuff. It's quick and easy and cheap. Let's see. Shop brushes. Definitely necessary. You need to have shop brushes. This isn't even all of them. I have like 3 or 4 more that I use frequently, but these are my most used ones. You're gonna have. I like a little foxtail. I just started using this. I pulled it out of my Jeep actually, because this doesn't fit in a tool well. This fits in a tool well, so you can pick these up for next to nothing at like Walmart or something. I use paint brushes to clean chips out and whatnot, so yeah, brushes are freaking shop brushes. I can't speak to them enough. I use them all day, every day. Sanding block. I would recommend you have a sanding block or some kind of sanding device, whether it's just your hand or whatnot. I also use in conjunction with that kind of. Usually use one or the other depending on what the task is, but you can get yourself a set. You can get yourself a set of scrapers that come in like different shapes. They have like contours and stuff, but if you've never used scrapers, like cabinet scrapers or whatever, they're a godsend. If you know how to sharpen them and turn the lip on it, they're great. They're amazing. Needed? No. One or the other. You're going to need to finish this off with something. to get all of the planer marks and all of the, if you plan on taking them. You could leave it with all that. You don't need it, but I would recommend it. Something to finish the bench with, the final steps of the bench. Winding sticks. You don't need to have a pair as fancy as mine. You can make your own like I did, or you can just use some random lumber you have laying around, but they have to be parallel all the way across. Meaning, not only is it nice to have, you should have them the same height, but this thickness and this thickness have to be the exact same all the way across on both of them. Chisels. Of course, you're going to need chisels. If you're going to chop mortises or do any of your finish work, you have to have chisels. You could get away, they're necessary, but you can get away with just one chisel, right? Whatever chisel you're going to, whatever size chisel you are going to cut or chop your mortises with, that's the size chisel. This, I use 3/4 inch. That's what this is. That's all you'd need. Now I used a long, kind of junky really, paring chisel. I just sharpened it up and used it because I needed to get in, to those mortises. Let's see. Now to go with a scraper, you got to have a burnisher, or you're never going to get a hook on the edge of your scraper. Let's see. Marking gauge. My marking gauge, somebody else asked about it. I think this is the one they were referring to. This is a twin post or 2-post marking gauge by Veritas. You can get it at Lee Valley. I'm sure other places sell them, but I have the little knife wheels or whatever you want to call them on there. Make sure, and this is another little tip that I didn't mention before, but I see a lot of people do this, make this mistake, but remember that these things are screwed on there. So if you're using them in the wrong direction, they will back out on you and screw up your marks. Right? So if you're going to use it on the right side of your work, then you have to pull it to you. It becomes second nature once you do it enough. But if you're going to work on the right side, if you use your right hand to mark something, you got a piece of lumber or whatever, and you want to mark. If you're using your right hand and you're going to pull it towards you. If you're using your left hand, you got to push it away from you. That will ensure that as you roll, it's tightening that wheel and not, because if you go the other way, then you're putting pressure on it to back that wheel off of the post, and you don't want that. So don't make that mistake. You're going to need some kind of marking knife to do all of your marks and everything. If you follow the videos, you'll know what I mean. But you got two different Stanley knives. This one's sold in the States. You can order this and get it in about a week or two from the UK. They're both Stanley utility knives. This one with the full black bottom tip, I guess, with the kind of double bevel. It looks a little different. This one's a better one. This one's okay, but it's kind of wonky. Like you see how the edge kind of goes like, and then it shoots up. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. But this one's feels a little bit bigger. This one that's in the States feels bigger in your hands, and it is easier to close. This one, I mean, I leave them both open, so it doesn't matter. But I will tell you that these blades, the blades from the States are better quality blades. I like these better. I don't know why, but they're shorter. You can tell it's shorter. But look at that. It's already... This is all rust. I don't know why. Not like it matters. It's going to get replaced before it's ever affected. But the tips also break off. Of course, I use this one all, 10 times more than I use this one. But so they have their advantages. I use this one all the time for other stuff. When it comes to marking my woodwork, I use the one that I got from the UK, period. It's the one that Paul Sellers uses, and he's been doing it for 50 years. So it makes sense to me. Let's see, what else here? I just went over the levels, but you're going to want either a level that is longer than your bench is, or at a bare minimum a snap line, or you could just go, you could eyeball it for all I care. If that works for you, then that works for you. Me, I'm a machinist by trade, so accuracy is kind of my thing, which I'm making a transition really. Working with metal and working with wood are two completely different animals. And accuracy, although still important, is not quite as important. It's a whole lot harder to achieve in wood, I'll tell you that. It's moving on to the tools. You're going to need some kind of way to sharpen your plane irons, your chisels, your spoke shave irons, your everything. As y'all saw in my sharpening video, I used a set of, I just made a holder out of mahogany, or not mahogany, maple. Yeah, maple, to hold 3 stones, coarse, medium, and I think they call the last one like ultra fine. But they're just steel plates with diamond impregnated into the faces of them. You'll also want some kind of strop to be able to finish your blades, your cutting edges off on all your tools, and you'll need some kind of compound. I've been using this for probably 6 months now, and you can see how much worn down it is. This thing's gonna last, I don't know, maybe as long as I'm alive. Combo squares. You need layout squares. I have even more than this, but I'm a fan of Brown and Sharp, but this is my life. I grew up with combination squares. Brown and Sharp, I don't know if I trust them these days, but these are some older Brown and Sharps. A lot of people go with Starrett. Starrett still makes a pretty decent tool in their squares anyways. Some of the rest of their tooling and precision measuring instruments are a different story. But I don't know, I've always been a fan of Brown and Sharp. Most people are either Brown and Sharp or Starrett or Japanese or Chinese or whatever. But this is what I go with. This is not where I skimp. I do not skimp with my measuring and marking and layout tools. Period. You're going to get whatever you lay out. So get the best damn square you can. And a little tip, I don't know if I ever shared this with you guys, but to make sure that your square is square, right? You get it kind of long as you can, where it's still touching here and here, the front and the back, because inside the groove there's little ledges there that your rule will set on. So make sure they're clean and free of debris, or clear them out. Then you set your rule on something like a bench or whatever, something you know is flat and true. Then you mark a line, right? Flip it over, mark another line. If those aren't following the exact same parallel line, then your square is not square. You need to figure out how you need to tune it or whatever. A junky piece of crap combo square is not, you're never going to get that thing square. So I promised a not long video, but this is going to be shorter than all the rest of my videos today. I have 3 of them that I use primarily for this build. This is just a 12-incher. I can use this for probably 80% of my work. Once your tops and everything are together and you're dealing with longer surfaces, I have a 24-inch, and my tops are longer than 12 inches, or wider than 12 inches, or at least this one is. So I need something that's going to cover that entire length. Plus it comes in handy for other things. Something I don't have here in front of me, it's behind my washer, my dryer, framing square. I use that towards the end. So framing square. But something to lay out and get your layouts square. That is essential. Yes, it's necessary. I also have this little baby 6-inch combo square, and I use that one a lot. It fits in your pocket quite nicely, and well, it's obvious why you want a small one. If you don't know why, then change the channel. The last thing I really have on the table, oh, and I don't forget the poor man's router. Paul Sellers, man, what a great frickin', he comes up with some of the coolest stuff. It makes so much sense and saves so much time and energy and effort. But going over the planes, I have a couple block planes. Doesn't matter what you use, something with a low angle that'll get in grain, or you can use your spoke shave. So is this necessary? Absolutely not. Is a spoke shave necessary? Absolutely not. Now I used a number 3, a number 4, a number 5, a number 6, and a number 7 and a number 8 plane during the process of building this. I didn't touch my other 5, any of my other block planes, or no, I did touch my other 5. I never used my 6, I don't think. Maybe I did, I don't know, but the point is that to build this bench, pick one, a number 5 or a number 4. If I had only one to choose, if I had to choose just one to do this whole bench, what would I use? Hands down, number 4. It's got a wider bed. Well, it's wider in relation to the length of its body anyway. I'm pretty sure they're the exact same width, and yeah, they are. So this is longer, but I don't know, I've been doing this for a little while now, and the 4 is easier to manage for me. Feels better, more comfortable in my hand. I don't know. I just like it better. But if you have the opportunity, now I have my 5 is set up for a rougher cut, a deeper cut usually, and my number 4 is set up for a finer cut, so I don't have to keep shifting back and forth. Also super duper nice to have a big fat long number 8 to be able to, you know, joint the boards. But you know, a joiner is you don't have a planer or a joiner. You have, like you would normally think in a machine and woodworking environment, this is my joiner. And yeah, and this is my planer. Well, kind of. This is what you would get your thickness from, I guess. And that's about it. I did use other tools here and there, but I can build the whole bench with, well, let me remove everything that I didn't need to build the bench, and you'll kind of get an idea. Of what I mean. Still need it done. I could get away with all this. Oh, and the screwdriver. You need a big fat screwdriver, torquey if you will, and wide at the tip for all of your plane irons to be able to take your plane irons off and sharpen them. Oh, and yes, pencil. It's a tool. If I had to choose sandpaper or a scraper, I didn't need the whole roll, I just needed a 3/4. Well, scraper is a little bit more specialty tool, so I'll remove that from there. Don't need this, don't need this. You only really need 1, 2, maybe 3 different bits out of your drill set, your drill bit set. I need to walk all the way around. But I'm going to leave this level up because, yeah, I think it's that important. In fact, I'll leave both of them here. If you want an accurate bench. Some kind of lining stick. Lube. Brush. Clamps, of course. I'm literally trying to get away with anything. Like, okay, I mean, let's go bare minimum. I'll go ahead and put the put the level up. And this sucker's long, so be careful. Alright, and I can hang this guy up right here. Remember, always hang your levels. Don't let them sit on your bench or something like that all night long. Well, I'll go ahead and get it, because I did use it. You have to use something here, and why not? And I round the edges of mine off. Just to make it much easier. I rounded these edges off, I rounded my edges off here. It makes it much easier to use. So, most important tool of all. Oh yeah, I guess I can't forget. Gotta have a chisel hammer. And you'll need glue. And I do believe that's it. I can build this bench with just the tools you see on top of the bench. So sharpening, routing, checking for twist, chopping of mortise and cleaning up joinery, chopping or cutting tenons, obviously this and this go together, and I used a dead blow, but I didn't need one. You can use your hand if you want to level out boards, and well, big projects like this need a bunch of banging. So marking knife, you could use a pencil or an X-Acto knife, a utility blade, whatever. Something to mark with. You could use a pencil, but it depends on how accurate you want to be. If you want to be accurate, use one of these. If you don't care about accuracy, use a pencil. But you definitely need one of these. You got to cut all this lumber to length. You definitely need the clamps, because without clamps, you're not going to clamp anything together unless, like again, I said, you need longer clamps than this. These are just to represent all clamps. Drill bits to drill for your pegs, to drill for your bolts, to drill for your screws. If you are so inclined you want to drill out your mortises, then you'll need that. I suggest using a smaller drill bit than your mortise is wide. So I did a 3/4 inch mortise. I would have gone in with a 1/2 inch or a 9/16 drill bit. Lubrication, one plane, something to finish with, this or a scraper. I'll choose this because you can just replace it and get a nice fresh blade or a fresh cutting surface, and it's cheaper than, and you could just use a block of wood and some sandpaper. It's cheaper and takes less know-how, less whatever than a scraper. Got to take your plane irons out somehow. Got to mark everything. This is used in woodworking to mark lots of things, thickness of boards. Well, mark anything you want with it. But you can use one or both posts in this case. I'm actually going to get another one, a single post that has that micro adjustment on it. There's so many times I've picked this up and freaking wish I had that micro adjust, but I don't, because this is a pain in the ass to try and get both of these 3/4 inches apart and at the right distance away from this base. That's a pain in the butt for any marking gauge, but that micro adjust would help a little bit. And you can't build this bench without this sucker, or some kind of squaring mechanism. And then obviously a brush. I'm pretty sure that's about, you can get away with building this bench with just these tools. There's probably something really big I'm missing, but pretty sure that's it. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll try to answer them best I can. If you have any other suggestions of tools you may want, you would want to add to the bench build that might make somebody else's life a little bit easier, by all means, throw the comment down there. You know, subscribe if you're digging what I'm doing. Give me a thumbs up. And for now, that's about it. All right, friends and family, I love you. Everybody else, I will see you next time I see you. Cordless Carpenter. Doses!